There's another thing to add, just to talk about it. The way the team's working it's going really nicely. I'm proud of the team. There's this thought that we're not being aggressive in the second half when we have a lead. It's not true. So as we go through stuff, we are not a conservative team. We've been very aggressive. And so in terms of conservative, we should have been a little bit more in this game, to be honest with you.
There's Kalani Sitake. Were the Cougars aggressive enough late in the game? Were they too conservative? Grab the phone right now. You can send us your take. Use the open mic feature. Win Tickets Wednesday reminder. Tomorrow, you got a chance to win tickets to see Breaking Benjamin at Utah First Credit Union Amphitheater on October 5th. Listen to The Zone all day Wednesday for your chance to win. That caught your ear, PK, that he would say, that he would answer a criticism or a perceived criticism.
Unprompted. No one brought it up. They were signing off. It was goodbye time. And he said, wait a second, one more thing. It reminded me of Ralphie climbing up the ramp because he froze at the time to ask Santa for a BB gun.
Mm-hmm.
And then when Santa was about ready to push him down, he tried to climb back up. Wait a second, I'm not done here. And then, of course, Santa just pushes him on the forehead. But nevertheless, Ralphie does get the gun.
Well, that's fact. I can't argue that.
Right. It reminded me of that. Wait a second. We're not done yet. He brought it up on his own, answering media criticism that wasn't asked at the time.
And in my mind, didn't even exist. Not that I've read or consumed all media out there. Maybe someone did say it, write it, talk about it. Watching the second half.
I posted it for my own self-aggrandizement.
Okay. Yuck, did you talk about this?
Oh, he went off on it.
Why did you think that they were conservative in the second half? What made you think that?
They ran the ball.
Did you see the output they had?
Did you see the output?
I did see the output.
Eyes right here, buddy.
I did see the output. They drove down the field. They
Jake
tried a field goal. They made it.
4 of 13 for 30 yards in the second half and 2 interceptions.
4 of 13 for 30 yards.
But see, that's not being conservative. That's being ineffective.
Yes, no.
4 of 13 with
and
2
they
picks.
couldn't run the ball. It felt like they went into a shell of themselves.
They went into a shell.
But not because of the play calling, because they couldn't, in my mind, they couldn't execute the plays. It wasn't conservative. It was just they were ineffective.
And I acknowledge that fact. So I went back and rewatched the game, and I agree with you on that. The play execution is what failed them.
Right. Yeah, I didn't think the coaches were conservative. They threw the ball and they got picked off.
But goes back to the point.
But Kalani disagrees with you.
Yes.
Yeah, and I don't understand why. It's unprompted, so I guess someone threw it out there.
But you never understand why someone disagrees with you, so that's sort of common.
You know what? That's actually true. I mean, I speak, it's truth. Why doesn't everyone just nod their heads and go along with it?
Right.
Why would I steer you wrong?
Yes. You're an award winner. You care.
You don't understand.
I'm a POS.
But you don't understand why anyone would disagree with you, because you speak truth. It's still truth. Why would you disagree with it?
Because truth is hard to accept.
You would. You do sometimes understand why people disagree with you, because you say stuff to be disagreeable and to be disagreed with.
I disagree with that.
I know you do. You just wait.
It's not true.
You wait for whatever side I take, and then you take the other one.
I take the right side.
You argue for sport.
I argue for correctness.
And entertainment.
And truth. And fact.
I didn't think they went in a shell. I thought they threw the ball. They didn't throw it well. They didn't make plays.
Yeah, but that
They
Kalani
threw interceptions.
That's not what Kalani thinks.
I know. I don't understand it.
But that's not the issue.
Oh, the
issue is, should he be answering media criticism and fan criticism?
I think there are at least 3 times this year that I've heard him speak and think, don't acknowledge the point.
Right.
If people want to criticize or people don't like, if their expectations are too low, whatever, win, and the wins will speak for themselves. And
well, apparently they didn't.
And they got 5. In his mind, they don't. I agree.
Right.
In my mind, they do. I don't get why it bugs him.
Well, it do.
It does.
It do.
It does. How long can we do this? Probably till about 10 a.m., roughly.
I'm willing to stay later if they let me.
Okay.
It obviously gets under his skin.
It does.
Is he developing a thin skin?
Oh, I was going to go. Well, I mean, that's a reasonable question,
Well,
but I would say
go.
I was going to say, has he always had it? Has he always had doubt? Doubt that he could do it. He's taken criticism along the way. The first time he took criticism in his second year for the 4-9, he's probably sitting over there thinking, Well, I didn't pick these guys. They were picked for me.
Speaking of some of the coaches.
Don't judge me for our lack of production on the offensive side of the ball until I pick the offensive coaches.
True.
And so then he got that. And he's gotten I've heard, he hasn't said this to me, but I think he has said this to people I trust, or they become aware of it. So maybe somebody else told them. I don't know.
What?
And maybe you're in this group about emails or maybe even old school letters he's gotten. And he's like, people are judging me by the color of my skin here. I'm getting judged harshly, and it's not fair. And I think that sticks with him. And I haven't had that conversation with him directly, but I've heard it from people who I think have had that conversation who trust him.
I know that's factual.
And it wouldn't be a new narrative in sports. This didn't start with Kalani. We were just talking Jackie Robinson and Stan Musial in the last segment. And so it's not new. So there's always that. When you go through life thinking people just look at you and think you can't do this, whatever this is, in his case, it's be a college football head coach, that's going to stick under your skin and it's going to be there. It's going to nag at you. It's going to bug you, even when no one brings it up. And when he does bring it up, I always wonder what percentage of this is something he's been carrying every day for 5 or 10 years or even longer. Now, some of it might be, and I think every BYU coach has this to a degree, and it was at Val Hale or Tom Holmoe. It was one of the ADs who was like, yeah, I can't go to the grocery store. I think it was Holmoe. In California, you can go to the grocery store. In Utah, if he goes to the grocery store, you got to have 20 minutes for getting the stuff on the list, and you got to have another 20 minutes to talk BYU football, unless you got to have 40 minutes to talk BYU football.
His wife told me that.
Okay, it was his wife. Right. So maybe Kalani's getting this just, his kids or his wife hears it and tells him about it. Other coaches tell him about it. Maybe it's something he's getting directly. BYU coaches have been getting second guessed forever. Lavelle famously won a bazillion games, did a post-game radio show for $50, and had people second guessing the play calling. Like, he's gone undefeated and had a Heisman Trophy winner. Maybe you should just let them do their thing.
Yeah, but that's the blessing and curse of BYU.
Fact.
Is the fan base
cares a lot.
So awesome.
Yeah, the fan base cares a lot.
Right. So you're going to get that.
And it's why they had the environment they had against Kansas State.
You're going to get the second guessing.
For all the talk about Baylor, when they got to a wide shot of that game, there was nobody in the upper deck of that stadium. There were acres of empty seats.
Acres?
Acres.
Usually it's acres of land you hear, but acres of empty seats. I have not talked to him about this, but I've talked to others about how to approach criticism, and you got to let it go.
Let it go.
You create a story.
Yes.
The story is what it is for a day or so, but that's about it. Well, then with him doing what he did, he gave the story some ammunition.
Right.
To now we're talking about it. And it's okay to be feisty. I don't have any problem. Be true to who you are. You don't want to come off as just this guy who's just easygoing, lackadaisical, lacks discipline, all that stuff. That's not what you want. That's not the message you want to send. You want to send you're tough but fair, you're loving but fair. There are consequences for actions, good and bad. I can't overlook this or that. Once you start doing that, things get away from you. I had a coach one time who just was breathing fire. I'm on vacation, calls me. Did you see it? No, I didn't. I'm out of town. And that was in a time where you couldn't log on.
Right.
There was no logging on. Al Gore hadn't invented the internet yet. And I just said, let it go, let it go, let it go, let it go. And I bring up a conversation that I had with Kevin O'Connor. And we were talking about the media. Mm-hmm. And I always enjoyed talking to Kevin, interviewing him, but just talking to him because we were the same guy from the same area, same type of makeup, right? And his philosophy is, yeah, I'm aware of it and it bugs me, but I let it go because if I'm winning, you can't do anything for me. If I'm losing, you can't do anything for me either. So my job is to win, and then everything will take care of itself. You can't save me if I'm losing. People tried to save Ron McBride, because everybody loved Ron McBride, and it couldn't be done. The coaching change was made. Same thing here. Then, as I'm thinking about this, that's my first reaction. Then as I'm thinking about it the rest of the day, I see some shrewdness behind his move, meaning that he's willing to stick up for his guys. So he's going to go to bat for A-Rod, because if it's lousy play calling offensively, well, then it goes back to the coordinator, right? And right now, the defense is getting all sorts of praise and love. You know, they got pushed around a little bit, but I think Sawyer Robinson's an excellent passer, and teams are going to score points. If you don't, what they did against SMU was remarkable, looking at what SMU has done since. But that's not going to be the norm going forward. Teams are going to score points. But then when you needed the huge stop, you got the pick, game over. That's all that matters. So no one's really criticizing the defense, where the offense has been criticized. I mean, even in that SMU game in which they won, the offense received a ton of criticism. So Kalani then going public in terms of supporting A-Rod and the other guys on the offensive staff. So I think there's a level of that has some form of shrewdness to it too.
If that's what he's doing, if that's the motivation, then I can applaud that. I get that. I think, and I hadn't really considered it because I think I have a much higher opinion of A-Rod than the loudest, most negative portion of the fan base, who are the ones who seem to be setting the agenda at this point. If I look at the BYU offense right now, there's one game I can complain about. And A-Rod's answer would be, we got better in the second half and we won the game. That's like, wow, if that's the biggest thing you've got to complain about, you weren't good in the first half and you got better in the second half. SMU.
Well, SMU, I think they were done in by turnovers. Lack of offensive production was
the turnovers were certainly an issue, but they also had a string of 3 plays and out. They had a multiple 3 and outs in that first half. They just couldn't move the ball.
Yeah, but you're going to have that. But if you put up points on the other possessions, it's fine. I talked to A-Rod about that very thing.
Right. And in the second half,
I was there in Dallas.
They came from behind and won the game in the second half. So, but that's it. What else have you got? I mean, you can complain about some potential turnovers at Wyoming, but they're routinely scoring 30, 35, 40 points. I mean,
yeah, but you're Mr. Logic. You always look at it logically. That's fine. That's fine.
Logically, they didn't. But they were good in 4 games.
Look at it logically. They're fans.
Okay, well, they're wrong.
Doesn't matter.
They're just wrong.
They still think about it that way.
4 out of 5 games. I mean, it's
4
not
out of
4 out of 5
doctors.
dentists. 4 out of 5 doctors. 4 out of 5 dentists.
Recommend they throw the ball more.
BYU's offense has been good in 4 out of 5 games. I guess you can go in Baylor. It was the tale of 2 halves, like you can in SMU. And again, they won on the road. But I think if you score 34 points, you ought to win a college football game. They scored 34 points and won the game.
I think you got to do what it takes to win the game.
Yes, but it was odd that they scored.
If you need to score 45, you better score 45.
It was odd that they scored so much so early and so little late. But at the end of the day, 34 points.
Really, it's at the end of the game. You don't need to wait till the day's over.
Well, they were in the 2 o'clock time slot. I'll give you that.
Yeah.
I'm so used to these late night games where the end of the game is the end of the day.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
You know, these 8:30 kickoffs.
Understood. Yeah. Yes.
I get that, but you got to be realistic. And you brought it up with the Utes yesterday. The defense gave up 23 points. And there's an argument to be made the defense gave up 20 points. We can talk about this with Karene Reid in the next segment. I mean, an interception's thrown. It happens. And where's the return go? Well, the return took it to about the 20-yard line. So the defense got a 3 and out, but they were still in field goal range. They kicked a field goal.
Yeah, the defense was fine.
The defense did its job.
I thought so.
The one thing that the defense didn't do is when you got the touchdown, you got back in the game, you got to get the stop. Like when you have the big inning in baseball, you need to put the 0 up in the next inning. They didn't do it. They gave up 2 big plays and a touchdown.
They did.
So that, if you want to hang something on the defense,
but
there's that.
That was always going to happen. I didn't know when it was going to happen, but it was going to happen.
Again, back to my point that if you give up 20 or 23 points, you ought to be able to win the game.
Yeah, and it depends on who you're playing. And against Arizona, the
vast majority of college football games, if the defense holds somebody to 20 or 23, they've set the offense up to win.
And that offense with Arizona is going to have a couple of big passing plays.
You would think. Yeah, and in the end, they still didn't throw for 200 yards.
In 2 weeks.
We will.
Yeah, they'll come to Provo and they'll do the same thing.
They got an outstanding receiver, but they got other guys who can make plays.
They do. Yeah.
And we saw that.
But I get if Kalani wants to back his guys. So at first I thought, oh, Kalani, don't do this, man.
But that's
just end the thing, say, go Cougs, see you next week.
Right.
But as I thought about it as the day progressed, I thought, he's sticking up for his guy. And I can tell you his guy is extremely loyal to that guy. Particularly those two, because they've now coached together at 3 different places.
BYU, obviously. People know about Utah, but don't forget about Southern Utah.
Right. So they've been together for a long time. From that perspective, I get where he's coming from. And I thought about it afterward, thought, that's probably what my instincts say that's what he's doing. And I'm going to stick up for my guy because I believe in my guy. He knows we're going to have some tough ball games starting in 2 weeks, and he needs to know I got his back at all times. If that's the reason, I'm all for it.
Don't you think it's been 5 pretty good games from the offense, though? You can quibble over
you're
SMU.
5-0, man. I don't care.
You can quibble over SMU if you want. They won on the road.
And
made adjustments as the game went along.
His running backs are down.
Right. And now Connor Pay's down. I think that's a huge loss.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
But it's football, and you got to figure it out. This happens to a lot of people. You'll probably be going against defenses that are missing guys, but we just don't follow those teams close enough to know who went down 4 weeks ago isn't in the headlines anymore.
Exactly.
DJ and PK, Karene Reid, linebacker, joins us next. Stay with us.
It's official. 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone, is your official radio home of the Utah Hockey Club. When the puck hits the ice this fall, you'll hear every goal, every check, and every tension-filled moment right here on the Zone. Your exclusive home of the NHL and the Utah Hockey Club in Utah is right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.
DJ and PK joined once again by Karene Reid. Karene, good morning.
Good morning. Good morning. How's it going?
Good. Well, you were on last week telling us how hard it was to be injured and watch a game and watch the guys go through it and win. I imagine it's either 10 or 100 times harder to watch them lose and not be able to do anything about it.
100 times worse. It's tough to sit on that sideline and watch the boys go through any loss is painful. So to not be able to be in there with them really hurt. But we're okay. We're looking forward and excited to keep pushing forward.
When it's a home game, you can be there. The road is another story. When you're there at home, do you try to do any coaching or what do you do during the game?
Yeah. I try to do coaching on the sideline, but more importantly, trying to keep the energy up and not let any heads drop, when things aren't going our way. So, you do all that you can without actually playing, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
We were talking about what the defense could have done better, and unless you have a shutout, I guess you could, always do something better. So there's a list of things, whether it's forcing turnovers, getting the 3 and out instead of giving up a couple of first downs, because then you help with the field position. And then I thought probably the glaring thing, if there's 2 plays the defense wants back, it's when the offense scores and it's 16-10, it's a one-possession game, the stadium's on fire. They hit on 2 big pass plays for the score. So that, I guess, would be the number one thing at the top of the list that's bugging the defense?
For sure. We definitely had some momentum, and the tables were turning, and those passes felt like a dagger. The whole stadium went quiet. And credit to the stadium, man. They were there the whole game, loud as could be, but we just couldn't finish that drive. So, yeah.
I just learned the other day that you're smart.
I hope so, man.
The reason why I bring that up is I got an email, and it says the National Football Foundation and College Football Hall of Fame announces semifinalists for the 2024 William V. Campbell Trophy, college football's premier scholar athlete award. And on the list representing Utah, now maybe, I don't know, maybe there's 2 Karene Reids running around at Utah, but your name is on that list. How about that, huh?
Yeah. No, I'm grateful to be on that list. Yeah, I don't know. I like to think I'm smart or just take school. I try to take it as seriously as I take football. So, yeah, it was cool to see my picture and name up there.
Yeah. So what's your major? What are you looking to do there besides football?
Yeah, I'm studying business. I'm in the business school, and really just getting my degree and trying to play football as long as I can. And then once I'm done, see where that degree takes me.
You thinking an entrepreneur here? You thinking a high-level finance management type? What?
You know what? I'm not quite sure. Yeah, I'm gonna figure that out. I love sports so much. If I can somehow combine the two, that'd be great.
How difficult is it, though, to be able to succeed academically with all the time you have to just use for and allocate for football?
It's really tough. And then I throw on top of that, I got a 2-year-old son at home and my wife as well. So there's a lot of times where I'm literally sitting down at nighttime planning on my paper and iPad for the next day just because it's a lot to juggle.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We've talked with other former Utes about this, that for the guys who decide, I want to play in the NFL, then the coaches usually come back with, well, you need to graduate. And, of course, the coaches say that because they know the parents want to hear that. And they're old enough, they probably believe it too. So then they put down the plan to graduate in 3.5 years so that if you're going to the NFL, you can focus on the combine and the draft in what would normally be your final semester of college. So were you put on that kind of timeline? I know they've talked to guys about you got to get units in the summer, you got to load up in the spring, less in the fall because there's going to be so much traveling. You're going to spend so much time in the trainer's room staying healthy, getting healthy. Did you get put on a 3.5-year plan?
You know what? No, I wish I did. I think I was so unsure about what I wanted to major in that it took me a little bit longer to know which course I was taking. So I wish I was taking a little bit lighter classes, not as intense right now, but I don't have that luxury. So just going hard in school and ball right now.
How much do you attribute that to be able to succeed academically to the environment in which you were brought up in?
Oh, I think a lot. Growing up, my dad always held me accountable for football and my mom for school. So I kind of had the best of both worlds. And once I left the home, I stayed the exact same. So shout out to them and grateful for the way I was raised.
Is this something that goes through the entire family?
Yep. As you know, my older brother was at Stanford, and so he's the nerd of the family. But he's doing big things now, so we're happy for him.
Is that something, when you were deciding how you did the Utah State thing, how much did academics factor into it versus football? I always thought that, it's up to the individual. You can go any place and succeed to the highest level academically. That's up to the young man, young woman to see what they want to do. But I'm wondering how much did that factor into your decision?
For sure. I was a little bit of a punk, I feel like, in high school where I tried to get good grades, but when Stanford was, talking to me a little bit and wanted me to get higher ACT scores and better grades, I think I could have been in a better mindset. So I got my act together eventually. But, I like what you said. You can succeed anywhere academically.
You got a bye week here to try and get healthy. How much is that going to help you? How much can you hurry up the process? How much are you having to be patient right now? And even if you hate it, that's the way to go.
Yeah. I was reaching for that last game, but this bye week is huge for me as far as rehab and getting my strength back and making sure I'm in shape. So this feels more like a game week for me than maybe the rest of the team does. So I'm excited for this week.
What's your concern about coming back as far as being able to pick up where you left off?
I want to make sure our defense is at a high level, and I think that's a big reason why maybe I haven't come back as early as some may think. But just making sure that I'm healthy enough to make sure our defense is making a step forward and not a step back. So just getting my strength back.
How much say when this happens? How much say do you have? How much say does a trainer have? How much say does a doctor have? And how much say does a coach have?
That's a great question. I would say it's a collective group effort trying to figure out what's best for the team, what's best for me. and what's going to help us win games ultimately. But I would say a lot of it has to do with the trainers and then communication with the coaches as well.
Then, as you've been out, how much have you been able to stay into the game, so to speak, mentally?
Yeah, I think that's one of the toughest parts about any injury is to not let your mind wander, not get distracted. And I think I've done a good job of that, of being around the boys and trying to pick up on schemes, even if I'm not playing, has helped me keep my mind in it for sure.
Well, Karene, good luck with the bye week. Good luck with getting healthy, and we hope to see a smart guy out there on the field sooner, not later.
Sounds good. Thank you, guys.
All right. Karene Reid, Utah linebacker, join us right here on The Zone. You're pondering. That's your pondering pose right there. What are you pondering?
Well, the idea to come back and be able to be where you were, I would think that would be a challenge. But you've got to come back in order to get to where you were. I just don't know that you can come back and immediately be what you're capable of being.
I would think that normally you can't.
And I'm looking about for Cam Rising's sake.
Coaches talk about game shape and then depending on the position, sharpness, which when you get to the offensive skill positions, that's going to be a big factor. But I still think getting into the flow of a game and not thinking it, but you have to be out there to do that. And then obviously the game shape. I mean, you can practice, but you burn so much energy with the adrenaline and the nervous energy during a game and the crowd and all that.
I would think it would be easier for a guy like Karene to come in because you don't need to start him. People probably don't even notice he's in the game. You can slide him in, whatever series or whatever third and long or whatever you want to do there. That doesn't seem like it's that big of an issue. But what will Rising be when he comes back? Because that's going to be the highlight. And can he be able to be what we believe he is? Does he need time? How much time does he need? All those types of things. Now, I do think that the schedule plays in their favor because they'll be heavily favored in 2 weeks down in Tempe. And the games in October, it's like it's worked out for them in a sense that since they've kept him out this long, he didn't get to play in what we viewed as the two toughest games. Now he can play in some easier games, so I think that could be beneficial for them because I still think that they'll be fine. That they will, in November.
They'll be we'll forget November or December. Will they be in the Big 12 title game?
Well, but I mean, November, you got to be in the position to be in the title game. I'm just looking at November 1st. Not the 1st of November, but November beginning, because that's when, in my mind, and I think everybody else's mind, the schedule turns tougher. So I don't know that they can get the job done. I think they can. And so what I'm saying is that you need the team to be at its best in November to take care of business. And then if you do that, you will be. I'm not talking about a prediction that they'll be in. I don't see any reason why they're not, because I think that the schedule works for them. You don't need necessarily Rising to be at 100%. You're going to need him in November, and so he'll have an opportunity. Now that they've gotten past the two tough games, they'll have tougher games. I think each game in November has a possibility of being very, very tough. Well, he'll have 3 games then if he comes back next week to get himself up to snuff. And so that's why I'm encouraged for Utah. They lost 1 game. Whoop-de-friggin-do. It's not the end of the world. Not even close. I have no angst that they lost that game. None. 0.
Yeah, most people have some.
I don't.
And I get why they would have some.
So do I,
you
because
have
they're a
mulligan.
fan.
You have mulligan, and you used it.
Oh, so?
And I think that what you say about October is that if they had won that game, then the next 3, the heavy favorites, ought to be 5-0 going into the biggest games in November. And knowing that if you win 3 or 4, you're going to
And so they're 4-1.
Big 12.
So what?
It's
you
odd
take care of business in November, you're going to be fine. You're always going to have to take care of business in November because you could have lost 2 games in November.
Yep.
And what's the difference?
That's true. But now you have to take care of it to a higher level.
Yeah, but I mean, you're talking about competing for a national title, then you're going to have to be. Well, they are talking about it, and they should.
They are. I'm not, but
well,
yes.
That's your call.
Yeah.
If you get in and see what happens at that point,
That's
you're
more
competing
where I am.
for
That's
it.
where I am.
Even if you don't make it, you're still competing for it, right? The Padres are competing for a World Series berth. Yes, they are.
They are.
I know
right.
they may not get it.
Right.
But right now, today, that's what they're competing for.
Sure.
So that's the same mindset that Utah has to have, even with one stinking loss. So what? Georgia, all of a sudden, they're out the window?
Nope.
No.
No, it's actually that's what I would fear as a Big 12 or ACC champ. The way this sets up, you get the second best SEC team. Yeah.
Don't be fearing anything. Yeah. Once you're fearing, you're lost. Don't you fear jack squat. What is the fearing? Come on. Or as they say on South Jersey, come on. What are you fearing? Stop with your freaking fearing. They fear us. We don't fear them.
Yeah, that's not true. But anyway, last point before we go.
That's the mindset you got to have.
BYU.
Love them to death.
Opposite. Stop, man. That's where you get the tweets you get.
Go on. Make your point.
BYU has the 4 difficult games. Everything's on the line. And they got 3 games at the end that look like they ought to handle all of those.
Agreed.
And the pivot, BYU's last game in their tough stretch, on paper, is the Utes. Whereas that's the Utes' first game in their stretch of 4.
Yeah.
It's odd that there isn't any back and forth. The games are the way they seem to be in the SEC, where they seem to play one big game a month.
We'll see. But it's all paper now, but I agree with you.
On paper, that's how it looks now.
Yeah, I agree.
DJ and PK, when we come back, does Jesus love PK? If you weren't here earlier in the show, you have no idea. Stick around.
And it's all over almost here.
Don't go nowhere.
DJ and PK, it's 97.5 The Zone, and it is time for your feedback. All right, PK, this isn't going to make sense to people unless they hear the backstory. So give them the backstory. Does Jesus love PK? Yeah, show got a little out of control at 8:30 this morning, but you know whose fault it is? Not ours. We take no responsibility.
Hey, there's a podcast version of it up if people want to go back and listen to it. So
oh, my gosh.
Podcast.
So this starts because someone who identifies themselves as a lover of Christ in their Twitter bio called you a POS.
Yeah, at 11:52 Saturday night, I tweeted out, always figured one team in the state would be in first place going in October. Well, obviously, we thought Utah. And
was going to be 5-0 and in first place going in. Yeah.
But lo and behold, it's BYU.
Right.
So Robert Lindsay tweets at me, you've downplayed BYU for decades now. You're trash. And no way will you be allowed to leverage BYU wins to your own self-aggrandizement. Back to the sewer and off my TL, UPOS. And so then I respond.
Signed, lover of Christ.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. So it's sort of ironic, wouldn't you say?
A little more than ironic. It's radio gold.
So I thought, oh, this will work.
Yeah.
And we had Jazz Media stuff yesterday, so we couldn't do it. And I responded with, does Jesus love me? So there we are.
All right, so to the open mic, what are the people saying, Yak?
I know PK went to ASU, but man, he sounds like a Utah homer. He defends Utah's losses fiercely. He does not do that for BYU.
See? I am a POS.
That comes from Matt.
Matt.
No, he didn't call you a POS. He just called you a Utah homer.
I never defend BYU. I do nothing but blast them. They are so
not true.
I mean,
you literally stuck up for Kalani like 35 minutes ago. but that's just for people who listen to the show.
I criticize when they win because they don't win good enough. Mm-hmm. Everybody knows that. I went to ASU only because I didn't get accepted by BYU.
What did Junior have to say?
He was the one that said this is.
Well, let's hear it.
All right, here you go.
Yes, Jesus still loves PK, but only because he's contractually obligated.
That is such a great answer.
Yeah, you like it because it makes fun of me. It hits me at my core.
No. That's not what I like. I like yeah, and Jesus is contractually obligated. All right, fine. I signed up for it. So this comes in from S. Shaw. Wait, Did Jesus ever love PK?
Yeah, I think he did.
He did.
Yeah.
In the beginning?
Since the beginning.
Since the beginning. The first inning. He scored 5 times.
Since the beginning, the word wasn't PK.
My gosh. Chris here feels sorry for himself. Law of threes. Utes lost to unranked Arizona. Diamondbacks eliminated from the playoffs. Seahawks lost to the Lions. So, this is a fun 48 hours for me and my teams. Seattle, Utah, Arizona. Did he move around like you? How's he picking and choosing like that?
I don't know. Fandom is fandom. Especially at the pro level.
That's a mix, though.
I think there should be some level of connection college-wise, but pro can be random as can be.
Well, there you go. All right, DJ and PK. Jake and Ben are coming up next. We will be back tomorrow, 6 to 10. See you then.